I don't know if you've all noticed, but there is like this weird cult of men who create podcasts.
And people's sense of insecurity is only heightened by the fears about new technologies like AI. People want to know that they've got someone in charge who understands these dangers. Because only if you understand what is happening can you be trusted to keep us safe.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, welcome to episode 277 of Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments. You beautiful, bougie, binfluencery tinkers. You liquored up, self-medicating, tortured and damaged individuals who are good enough to join me twice a week here for this foray into the ferociously forlorn funfair that is the formerly Great Britain. Shout out to the Patreons, the YouTube community backers. Their names across the screen now, if you're watching this on YouTube. My backers, the good people who have emboldened me over the last couple of years into sitting here and talking rubbish to you all, instead of giving my children the attention they crave. Let's get into it. Let's talk about some things, shall we? Firstly, because it's obviously what we're here for. To try as best we can to convince each other that there are other sane people remaining out there. That's why you're listening to this. That's why the live chat and the Patreons in the Discord get on so well, because, we're all here. We're all in silent agreement, aren't we? And appreciation that even though it seems sometimes like there isn't, there are still a few of us who are sane out there, right? It's just that you have to tune in to a cretin ranting at clouds from his shed to enjoy said sanity. But also, we should talk about some things because, I saw this model on Instagram the other day, and I got to show you this T-shirt that she was wearing. Right, this is somebody came up on my Discover. Very, very attractive lady, it has to be said. But yeah, here she is. Her name's Callie Kate, or Caitlin. And for the benefit of those of you who still just tune in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, who haven't quite made the trip over to YouTube yet, we are on YouTube doing this, and I'm showing a picture of a very attractive lady wearing a T-shirt, and the slogan on it, the front of it, just says, "Ban male podcasts." Ban male podcasts. Right. Jolly good. And I don't know why it makes me laugh, really. It just sort of, why is it tickled my funny bone, as it were? Why has it given my funny bone a funny boner? I guess it's the first thing is that, for how many years now have we been hearing mental health czars and mental health initiatives with people saying, people on daytime TV, on This Morning, on Oprah, people are like, why do men not open up more? Why do men not talk about their feelings more? It's good to talk. We need to get more men to open up. It's good to talk. Men should talk more, right? Literally years, decades, people have been saying that. And then along comes this medium that allows men to talk to one another. And women, by the way, also do podcasts where they talk to each other. It's not like it's just, it's only men. Along comes this medium where guys actually are sitting around a table and exchanging their thoughts and feelings and theories. And this model is like, God damn it, would these marble bags ever shut the fuck up? Like, Jesus, could you give us a minute with all the chatter there, motor mouth? But these are my thoughts. I thought it was good to talk. No. It was good to talk when we didn't know what you were gonna say. Now we know your thoughts. Actually, it would be better if you kept it all silent. Keep it all bottled up. But that's how depression starts. I don't care. Do not care. These thoughts are worse than you taking your own life. That's honestly how we feel. All right. I see. Yeah. That's right. So either shut up or end it all. Okay? Either way, it's peace and quiet for everybody else. So take your pick, blabbermouth. Anyway, so that kind of hit me. We spend all this time telling men to talk more, and then the second that they do start talking, we're like, would you shut the Anyway, so there was that. But also, I guess it sort of hit me because, I'm a man who does a podcast as well, so it's difficult to not feel a little bit attacked by that. But it kind of made me think also, like, the next thought that went in my head was like, well, hang on a second, is this the point where I get, all uber defensive about it, rather than considering the underlying point beneath it, right? Which is probably that podcasting is way too male-oriented sort of thing, right? Which is not a new thing necessarily, is it? I mean, podcasting's been around for, 15 years, is it now? Or 12 years? Or something? It started off back in the day with people like Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant were seen as sort of pioneers with it. There's a few little independent ones as well that blew up. Serial, which was not, male-dominated, but it was huge. Did big things for podcasting in general. And then you got, more recently Joe Rogan, Tim Dillon, Conan O'Brien. It is a bit of a sausage fest, right? It's sort of inarguable that it's become male-dominated, the industry, the charts. And when you see a t-shirt like this that says ban male podcast, once you scratch beneath the surface and you actually consider the point that it's sort of admittedly sarcastically and quite aggressively getting at, it forces you to then go, well, I wonder why that is. I wonder why podcasts are so male-dominated. What is the actual reason behind it? Is it similar to festival lineups? Is that what it is, Where some people, they say, like, it's a social thing that becomes self-perpetuating. Which, by that, I mean, I don't know if you've heard these theories or these, style of analysis probably written by men. So, does it even mean anything in the first, how many levels deep do we need to go with this? But let me just quickly rehash the point that's been made way more eloquently than I will now be able to make it. But this is the theory, right? Here we go. There are just a larger number of men, right? And I have to be careful how I phrase this, because I don't want listeners or viewers of this podcast to come away with the impression that what I'm saying is what A. Thompson said, right? I'm saying what has been said in the past. So, please don't get it twisted. Don't think that I have no interest in hearing what women have to say, or female-fronted bands at festivals, or female-dominated, like that is not the case. I'm going to be really careful about this. Let me just say this point blank. I personally really enjoy watching female-fronted bands. I do. Paramore, Hole, Chrissy Hind. What's not to love? So, now that we've got that pre-qualifying context, get out of jail free card out the way, now I can tell you the actual theory, right? So, the theory was that if you take 1 million men and 1 million women and ask the women if they would go to see male-fronted bands, almost all of the women would be like, yeah, sure. Obviously, yeah, they rock, right? They would go see them if it's the opposite sex fronting the band. Whereas if you asked the men, 1 million men, if they would go see female-fronted bands, a much greater proportion of the men, not all, obviously, but a huger chunk of the men would respond with something like, nah, I don't know, it's not really my thing, you know. Kelly Clarkson, really, I don't know. Give me AC/DC, give me Metallica, give me Korn, you know. Dick and balls rock or nothing. So, if you ask 1 million women to go and see a male-fronted or male-dominated rock band, they will say yes, on large. Men, when it's reversed, not so much. And you see it with bands, you see it with movies as well. And this is why I say, like, is it a social thing? Is it are we programmed to look at things in different ways, like engineered by society, or is it just something innate in our brains? Because it happens with movies as well. Like you like this girl over here, this imaginary girl, she would go with her boyfriend and his mates. They would go and see some violent, trashy, actiony flick, wouldn't they? You know, Too Fast, Too Furious. Some like the latest Marvel thing. She would go along to that. She'd give it a chance. She's not really into it, but she'll go. She'll go and watch it. But he, the boyfriend, would not go and see Love at First Sight, starring Jennifer Aniston, or, you know, something like that. Some sort of romantic comedy, drama, chick flick type thing. He would not go to that. She'd have to go and see it with her friend. You know, it'd be, oh, we'll have a girls' night out, won't we, darling? It'd be that sort of vibe. So you see it with music, festivals, bands. You see it with cinema, movies. You see it with Netflix as well. Similar thing, right? The guy will hold the remote control and put something on the thing, and then she'll sit there and watch it with him because they're a couple and they're in a relationship and they watch TV together. But when she puts on X on the Beach or Love Island, he's like, is this going to be on for long? Is it? Yeah, I might go and play Call of Duty. Yeah, I'll be back down in a bit, love. And like, I'm not saying that's right, or it's, you know, it's funny that men are so pig-headed and close-minded about this stuff. I'm not even saying that that happens in every relationship. I'm sure that it does not. I'm sure there are 20 couples out there in the UK somewhere where that is not the dynamic. But like, you might say, oh, well, that's fine. You know, if that's the dynamic and that's the relationship and he loves her and she loves him, then that's fine. As long as they love each other, like, what do you care? As long as it works, as long as they stay together, they're in it for the long haul, why do you care? But here's where it becomes problematic, right? This is where the problems start, is it becomes self-perpetuating, doesn't it? Because there's more mannish movies then at the top of the charts, because more girlfriends will go with their boyfriends and all of his mates, and then that becomes a popular movie. It becomes a box office smash, right? And so then studios make more movies like that, and there's less and less choice for women. Not because the women's movies are worse, but just because it's a social thing. It just snowballs and gets worse and worse as time and the industry and entertainment mature. And I guess it's the same with podcasts. Yes, I know this is going on a little bit, but it's important to get this stuff out there. I think it's the same with podcasts, because I think it's like, you know, men, comedians, of which, you know, comedy is still industrially very male dominated. It's getting better, but it's, you know, it is still also a sausage fest. But podcasts then also become dominated by the faces of and voices of men, because women will listen to two men talking and cracking jokes with one another, but a greater proportion of men would never bother with a similar vehicle hosted by two women. They just wouldn't. Like, we're so close-minded. And it's wild. It's like, it really gets you there. It's like, well, what can we do about that? You know, because these guys, they're missing out on so much. So many jokes, anecdotes, so many observations that just come from a different place, right? So many stories. Because if we don't do anything, right, then all that happens is what happens in every entertainment industry, right? Which is that some big fat white guy in braces signs and promotes and invests in the thing that's most likely to get to the top of the charts, in this case, podcasting. But then that's all we ever see. It's just more regurgitation of the same type of thing. Again, another sausage fest, right? So what can we do, guys, to solve this gender culture gap? Is sort of what it is, isn't it? What can we do, guys? Well, here was my solution. Okay, this is what I was thinking we could do. We could think or consider that as women tend to be more analytical, right? As women tend to be more open and honest, as they tend to enjoy a chat, right? And I'm not wishing to venture into the realms of stereotyping here. You know, I don't think it's ignorance or, you know, sexism to be saying these things. I mean, like, one of the reasons that I've always had so many female friends, right, is because they are so interesting to talk to, right? And I like a chat. I like to talk. This is why I never really got into smoking weed, right? It's because standing in the pub and having a beer, I could talk shit for hours to people. Make them laugh. They tell me stories. I laugh. I love to talk. The second that I tried any weed, shut me right up. I was like, oh man, that evening sucked. You know, it's like, hey, Jack, what did you do last night? Oh, well, I don't know. What did you do, Ed? Oh, I went to the pub. Yeah, I got talking to this scalding hot lady. She's a model, and she's wearing this T-shirt that said, like, ban male podcasts. I said, it's a really interesting perspective. Like, you should come on the show and talk about it. And then we both laughed. It was like a big thing. And then she introduced me to her boyfriend, who's in a band. And, you know, then we went on to, like, an after party, after drinks, all that stuff. Oh, I didn't get until, like, 3 a.m., but it was so much fun. What did you do? I did a couple of buckets and watched Deep Blue Planet. Wow. That sounds rad. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes, I remember. Women are more analytical. They're more chatty. They're more interesting to talk to and to listen to. Like, you get real conversation out of them. Like, they ask you how you're doing, and they actually seem to care, guys. It's wild. I mean, honestly, like, tune in sometime, guys. It is just expose yourself to what it's like to socially engage with more women. It is actually pretty good. And it doesn't, right, get this, it doesn't even turn you gay. I know. I was as shocked as you are. Guys, like, I honestly thought I was going to, like, run out of chats, you know, like, that you're allowed to have with a woman. It'd be like a bank statement sort of thing. You know, it comes through once a month. You got, like, an allocated number of chats that you can have just with a woman or women. But if you have more than 5 or 7 deep and meaningful conversations with a woman a month, something just switches in your brain and you run out and suck a dick. But it didn't happen. Apparently that's not how it works. I can't wait to tell Mike Pence. It's safe, Mike. You can talk to them. But yeah, like, one of the reasons that I've always had a lot of female friends, or that I've enjoyed socially interacting with women, is that you get such good / great, stimulating, honest conversations. That's just me being real. You can have that with the lads too, Aid. Oh, yeah, great. Fucking Marvel movies and who's top of the league. Blinding. You should turn that into a podcast. It's riveting. But given that women like a chat and reciprocally to be listened to, I was thinking what might even the scores a bit, like sort of, adjusting your salary for the wage gap. That sort of vibe, right? What might even the scores a tad might be if I started another podcast, but where it's just me, sat here, staring into the camera. I'm not really saying a word. I'm just listening. Okay? And it's called Aid Thompson Sits and Listens to You. And it's just, it's just an hour of me sitting here, same cabin, same mic, same me, except I just shut the fuck up and you talk. I'm not saying a thing. You talk at me listening on YouTube, right? You tell me about your day, right? But it'll be me sitting here on camera, right? Listening attentively. I just think there's a time and a place and a space for that. I think for me to just shut up for a bit and give some space back, right? And maybe like the footage each episode, right? Mostly it's absolute silence. But I would just sort of pepper the silence and listening with a sort of nodding head. And, maybe the odds like oh dear. Or maybe oh, what's he done now? I don't know. I think maybe there's a market for that, ish. Let's move on before I get myself in any trouble. So the big story today, right? Party politically. Let's talk about this. The big story today was the Home Office brief that went out, which you know the deal, right? You know how this works. The Tories have their favourite journalists, right? They send out a PDF. It's got a load of sound bites and slogans, and then, maybe a pretty graphic little pie chart. And then the journalists retail it out. They just pass it on, don't they? With all the integrity and rigour of a group of drunk 5-year-olds playing pass the parcel. That is, okay, off it goes. Like, no checks, no challenges whatsoever. Just, okay, off we go. I imagine journalists and editors and sub-editors and, the rest of the staff at these places, at The Sun, The Express. Some journalist takes the brief from CCHQ. They're like, yeah, I just print it like that. And then the boss comes over and goes, did you even bother to, paraphrase that? Even? Or proofread it? Well, why would I bother doing that? They already proofread it in CCHQ, so why... Seems like duplication, doesn't it? It really feels like there's no checks, no sources to this stuff when it just gets passed straight out. What did you say? Just Stop Oil are a terror group now. Okay, good one. Right? I mean, for all their love of second jobs and wondering what they're going to do after the election, I truly think most of the cabinet could get jobs as ghostwriters. Because most of the press this morning was it's like a possessed ventriloquist dummy speaking in tongues with whatever, Hugo Barnsmythe Fairfax in Matt Parker Street wanted them to say. Whatever they wanted Harry Cole, Mason What's-His-Face at the Daily Express, or, whatever oxygen-starved conspiracy theorists they've got writing the front pages of the Telegraph this week. Whatever, like, that's what then gets blasted out, is what I'm, trying to say. Anyway, here it is. Obviously, let's talk about this, because what you've got here is the Home Office's brief. Okay? It's the Home Office who have written this and sent it out to each of the newspapers. And we know that it's been briefed to them because it's made the front page of all of the right-wing rags. Literally every single one of them. Simultaneously. Like, this isn't a scoop that they all just simultaneously happened to land on at the same time. Like, oh my God, this is a hell of a story. I can't wait to put this out. I can't believe I've pipped Harry Cole to it. Such an esteemed, highly regarded journalist is our Harry Cole. I've pipped him to this one. No. This has been seeded, if you like, through the corridors and WhatsApps of SW1. And so the way that it works is this, right? For the benefit of those of you who don't know, right? A PDF gets written. It goes out to the Sun, the Telegraph, the Mail, the Express, all of the usual subjects, the Times this morning also. And then where does it go, right? Who picks it up then? Good Morning Britain picked it up this morning, obviously. They could think up their own talking points, couldn't they? They could ask questions about the state of the NHS, social care, the housing crisis, people struggling to pay their bills, homelessness exploding. Maybe something around government accountability itself. When you consider that, let's go through them, shall we? The buffet of Bellendry that is the current UK government's cabinet of ministers. James Cleverly, for example, was caught on tape referring to a town as a shithole. And it just seemed to go away like magic. Maybe they could do a question about that. Maybe they could talk about the Tories' biggest donor, Frank Hester. He gave them £10 million and was then caught on tape making racist comments about Diane Abbott, saying he wanted to shoot her, or she makes him want to shoot all black women. But what happened to that? It just went away. Grant Shapps. Grant Shapps. I mean, we talk about ghostwriters. If ever there were a man cut out to be somebody else's secret ghostwriter, it's Grant, Corin, Michael Green, Sebastian Fox, Grant Shapps, right? I mean, Grant Shapps is so good at ghostwriting, he even ghostwrote on his own behalf. He is his own ghostwriter. And nobody noticed. Or at least everyone in Fleet Street pretended not to notice and instead let him crack on. And then he became our defense secretary at a time of huge geopolitical instability. Great job. Great British Free Press. God, there's so much we could talk about, isn't there? And examine and poll people on and investigate. If only we were Good Morning Britain. But GMB didn't seem to want to ask any of those questions. I don't know, maybe they're all men. Maybe it's a male-only or male-dominated thing, and they've decided that now's the time to shut the up for a bit. Let somebody else talk. Now's our time to listen. Maybe that's what it was. But instead of asking those questions, what do? They just pick up a copy of the Express and the Daily Mail. And this is the Mail. Let's get the Mail up, shall we? Let's see if I can knock this up awkwardly like Joseph did Mary. Right, here we go. So, it says, protest groups like Just Stop Oil and Palestine Action could be banned in similar ways to terror organisations under plans to update the law to deal with extreme left demonstrations. And this is just one of the tabloids and the broadsheets that have been putting this stuff out today, which then ferments this idea in the public's consciousness, doesn't it? That Just Stop Oil are basically terrorists, are they? Protest groups like Just Stop Oil and Palestine Action could be banned in similar ways to terror organisations under plans to update the law to deal with extreme left demonstrations. No mention of extreme right demonstrations, though. No? Should we ban organisations that talk about ending multiculturalism and kicking all the foreigners out? No? You don't want to ban those guys? No? Okay, all right. The guys that rocked up with 10 cans of Stella and swastika tattoos shouting, "England till I die! England till I die!" Those guys. Shouting it aggressively at every person of colour that happened to... You don't think you should ban them? No. Oh, okay, all right. Just checking where the line is. This one's The Sun. You know, again, taking that Home Office brief and retailing it out. Extreme protest movements, Just Stop Oil and Palestine Action could be banned like terror groups. And then this Express one, crackdown could ban Just Stop Oil like a terror group. You get the idea, right? And then, so then LBC pick it up, goes on their morning bulletins, their morning talk and question stuff. Good morning, Britain. And now it's just out there, isn't it? And there's this talk of like, let me see if I can find it. They literally call them a militant group. Here it is. I found it. It says Mr. Woodcock. I don't even know who that is. Mr. Woodcock, whose formal title is Lord Walney. Oh, well, now we do know who he is. He says militant groups like Palestine Action and Just Stop Oil. Militant groups. Are they walking around with like AK-47s patrolling the area? Are they? Militant groups like Just Stop Oil are using criminal tactics. No, they're not! You moron! These are the same protesters who Suella Braverman chastised them for using tactics that stayed deliberately just beneath the criminal threshold. That was her words. She was like, "Oh, they're really mischievously staying just beneath the criminal threshold, so we can't arrest them. We can't they're really devious like that." It's like, oh, so they're not breaking the law then? That's what we're saying. Okay, why don't you just let them go about their business then? Like, haven't you got a speeding awareness course to go to or something? But it's like it's sort of, reporting. It's journalistic reporting from an alternative universe, isn't it? Like, have these people ever been to a protest? I mean, a lot of it is like a festival, to be honest. A lot of it is like, don't take away our freedom of movement. But also, can I get a can of Red Stripe over here, please? And is that the DCB sound system over there? All right, yeah. Like, yes, there's a lot of anger. There's righteous anger behind a lot of these marches, a lot of these protests. Whether it's this year or 3 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it is. Of course, people are upset about various things. Lots of marches, lots of protests about leaving the EU. A lot of people felt very upset about that. People have marched for free school meals, haven't they? Or against the abolition of them. People have marched for, the fact that we're going into a war that they don't agree with. That was a big thing. So yes, there's a lot of anger out there. But there's also a lot of music. There's also a lot of like-minded individuals in Nirvana t-shirts and the DCB sound system over there. And I'm just saying, I honestly think I could probably drop a pill at a protest and have a pretty good time. You see, this is why we need to ban male podcasts, Aid. All right, okay. I'm just saying. What am I saying? I'm saying, if you think that these protests are hate marches, they're not. Okay, there's, more often than not, there's music at these things. There's people on a similar wavelength to you. There's, this guy over here is rocking some Pearl Jam. This lady over here is wearing a hemp cardigan and smoking a bifter. I'm just saying, right? And there's bass pounding through this, coming from somewhere. You could probably drop a couple of bombs, and it's like, oh, for God's sake, people are dying, and you want to throw a party. All right, yes, fine. You see, this is why the listening podcast was probably a better idea. You just jump on the Patreon for that one, pay me £5 a month, and I won't say a word. I'll be like silent. It's either that, guys. It's either that, or we wait until the government categorise podcasts like this as hate speech, that's probably the next thing along, isn't it? Hate marches, hate media, or something. I know it's coming. But yeah, anyway, extreme left protests might be getting shut down by the government and categorised in a similar way as terror groups are then proscribed as a terror organisation or whatever. But they don't seem to be too fussed about extreme right. And they don't. But basically what it comes down to, right? I don't want to, beat a dead horse with this stuff. But the demos that they want to come down hard on are the ones that embarrass them. I mean, that is the actual truth of this, isn't it? The EDL lot rampaged through the cenotaph to protect it, and nobody in power said shit, did they? Nobody's talking about the EDL today, are they? Extreme right organisations. Nobody's saying anything about that because they don't want to alienate that type of voter. And by that type, I of course mean a lobeless water cannon of stupidity. But a group of people shining a light on the government's inaction over the climate crisis. Whoa, something's got to be done about that. How about an action group drawing your attention to how we're still selling bombs to Israel, even after it's been shown time and again that they've committed war crimes? That there may or may not be warrants issued for the Prime Minister of Israel. Oh, we can't have that, can we? Then it's like, these ones are the hate marches. These ones, not those ones. No, they're all right. Those ones. It's these ones over here with the sound system and the guy with the big ears dancing awkwardly. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, keep bringing this up. This sort of idea of me on ecstasy at a march with the bass blasting. I'm just loved up, just in the zone. I'm in the music, guys. But I just want to say, that is the opposite of a hate march, okay? I'm full of love like that. I think that's important to clarify. No hate going on there whatsoever. Anyway, yeah, I wonder how long it'll be before they say dissident podcasts are hate speech or they're a threat to national security or whatever. I suppose the hope is that if and when Labour get in and form the next government, that everything will return to being something a little bit closer to sane then, right? But I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like with the centre-right stylings that they've adopted of late, channeling Thatcher, bringing Elphick in, talking about there's question marks over whether they would roll back the Rwanda policy. That was a thing a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I'd like to think that once they get into power, they're going to be actually quite fluffy and cuddly and liberal and progressive and nice and competent and left of centre. But, for all I know, they'll actually get meaner. They'll go further to the right even. They're going to be like, listen, we've been out of power for 14 years. Hey, do you really think we're going to let a little prick like you shouting about Labour and livestock mess it all up for us? Really? You thought, no. get in the pit. I mean, do we really think that Sunak, or even like Suella Braverman, do we really think that these people think that these protests are actually hate marches? That's the thing that always gets me. Is like, do they actually believe this, or is this just marketing? That it's like, it's cynical. They're trying to manipulate. Like, which one of those things is it? Are they dumb, or do they just assume everyone else is? Right? I mean, here we are, we're talking about hate marches, and then he gave his speech yesterday, didn't he, about the creeping rise of authoritarianism. He's like, oh, you better continue to vote Tory. You better keep us in power, because it's only us that you could be safe with as we fight the growing threat of Iran, China, Russia, this creeping threat of authoritarianism. I'm like, all right, Rich, could you give us some examples of what authoritarians do? Could you just run us through it for a sec? Right, yeah, absolutely. I guess the first thing is that they pretend that any criticism of their government is somehow criticism of the flag of the country. It's unpatriotic. Oh, right, okay. I mean, that's you. That's you, Michael Gove, Suella Braverman. You all do that, Rish. Right. They also try to ban protest. Right, that's also you. Right, but also they're paper thin skinned. They're very, very thin skinned and sensitive, so they don't like a free press criticizing them, scrutinizing. So what they do is they demonize journalists who try to expose them or even hold them vaguely to account. They exclude them from things. They threaten to take their hard drives from them, and they threaten to jail them. Yeah, you've also done that. You lot, you've also done that and threatened to jail them for 10 years if they deign to embarrass the government. All right, yeah, but you got to keep us in power though because of the threat of AI aid. This guy's seriously going to stand there. I don't know if you all saw his speech yesterday, I hope. He's seriously going to tell us that we have to keep him in power, keep the Tories in power because of AI, because it's very scary. Guys, it could need a safe pair of hands to help us navigate this storm of automation and killer robots, joblessness. He's the authority on tech, is what he's saying. Like he isn't already planning to use deepfakes to derail the coming election. There's no way they aren't talking about doing that. Do you remember all of the Fact Check UK stuff? I know I always bang on about this stuff, but it's true. It bears repeating. If they were willing to exploit Twitter, which was the technology of the day in the 2019 election, they will be willing to exploit this. They haven't got less desperate since 2019. They haven't got more sane. They're absolutely talking about how to use deepfakes in their marketing for this upcoming general election. I can almost guarantee it. I can guarantee you're going to see a fake Keir Starmer doing NOS canisters with Hamas or something like they're besties. It's just going to happen. That's the sort of content that you're going to see in unregulated, targeted Facebook ads that will go out to, fox hunters in Devon. You'll never see it. Journalists in London would never see it. It's going to say something like, the Conservatives love the rural countryside, but Labour? Well, the most that Labour's ever done for the countryside and farms and animals was the time when Angela Rayner admitted on tape to rinsing the taxpayer for flipping several council houses, making a gangload of loot, and then boasting about how she's going to buy Nadim Zahawi's horses off him. It's going to be awful. It's going to be that bad. I don't think any of you are prepared for how bad it's going to be. And Sunak is up there, yesterday, and this is just the latest iteration of his AI obsession. Sunak is up there and he's using it as fodder. He's like, you better vote for me to protect you from the thing I'm definitely going to be exploiting in the next few weeks. How about a sack of nopes, Rish? How about hard pass on that? Like we're supposed to trust the misinformation farm with a track record of acting outside of our interests. We're supposed to trust those people with looking after us with the killer robots thing, are we? Right. Like even if he had good intentions, right? Even if he wasn't basically an office admin for selling policy to billionaires. That is basically what he is, okay? Even if he was a good guy, right? His experience of technology tops out at, failing to use his Apple Pay at that petrol station and losing his WhatsApps. That's how good he is with technology. That's how much he knows what he's talking about with it. It's like, you know when you go home at Christmas, right? And you see your dad messing around with the remote, you know? It's like trusting Sunak with AI. That is like seeing your dad trying to get the teletext working on Netflix, you know, or trying to turn the kitchen, those light fans that you get in the kitchen, trying to turn the light fan thing on with the keys to his own car. Oh my God, Dad! Christ! And then he's got the nerve to go like, oh, you got a tester, have you? Would you mind if I took it for a spin, just down the shops and back? No! I was thinking about getting one of those smartphones, Aid. Absolutely not. Well, everybody keeps telling me that I should try internet banking. Stop writing everybody checks, leave the checkbook, try moving onto a smartphone, do internet banking. I thought I'd upgrade myself a little bit. Absolutely not. It'd be like day 1, username and password. Day 2, he downloads Facebook and the Barclays app and WhatsApp, right? Day 3, radicalized and militant anti-vaxxer. That's where it would be a matter of hours. No, Dad. Well, your brother bought me an iPhone for quitting. I'd snatch it out of his hand and flush it down the fucking bog. You're not having it. Well, that's not very Christmassy. Oh, yeah. Well, nor was splitting up the family and leaving me to be raised by a single mother on a council estate. So go fuck yourself, Dad. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. This has been a lot of fun. I'll be back on Friday night for the Friday night live show. Will I have a guest? Probably not. I'm really enjoying just doing the live shows and having the live chat there, throwing out questions to you guys, doing a little skit maybe. I'm feeling like it's a vibe. Is that what the kids say now? It's a vibe. So it'll probably be a guestless Friday night show once again. If you're enjoying the podcast and the paper reviews and all the other stuff that I put out, do consider jumping on the Patreon. I'm going to do a meetup with the Patreons, probably because we're midway through May now, I'm probably going to do it in July. Middle of July, I think. So you've got time to get on YouTube community or Patreon now, and then you'll get briefed the location that we're going to do that. Also, if you don't want to jump on the Patreon, if that's too much commitment for you, that's fine. Drop me a little super thanks, though. It's effectively like putting a little tip in the tip cup, because it all goes towards money that I can then use to invest in the show and the stuff and the things. But right now, I got to go, guys. Take care of yourselves. Keep it booge, keep it binfluencer, and I am out this motherfucker.